Namaste, Dandavat Pranams. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble obeisances to Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Bhagavatam. And also following the guidance of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, we are praying to Srimati Radharani. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati told us that if we have not understood Srimati Radharani through our study of the 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam, then it has been for waste. So we are praying to Srimati Radharani. Yadi seva vanchitasya ma yasya kripaya vayam labema sarvam prapnuma prayojanam damni Shri Bhagavat Pade Krishna sambandhi sarvam cha yadi na jani mahetutam Ashtadashasu sahasreshu shlokanam Bhagavat oktishu radharanim na vindamatada nishphalam Bhagavat adhyayanam radhikaya kripam vina vyartasyat sarva padishrama. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Radharani within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, all our efforts are in vain. So, we are continuing from Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 26. King Purañjana goes to the forest to hunt, and his queen becomes angry. Text 18. Narada uvacha Purañjana svamahishim niriksha vadutam bhuvi tatsangon matita jnano vaiklavyam paramam yayo. The great sage Narada continued, My dear King Prachinabarhi, as soon as King Purañjana saw his queen lying on the ground, appearing like a mendicant, he immediately became bewildered. Purport. In this verse, the word avadutam is especially significant, for it refers to a mendicant who does not take care of his body. Since the queen was lying on the ground without bedding and proper dress, King Purañjana became very much aggrieved. In other words, he repented that he had neglected his intelligence and had engaged himself in the forest in killing animals. In other words, when one's good intelligence is separated or neglected, he fully engages in sinful activities. Due to neglecting one's own good intelligence or Krishna consciousness, one becomes bewildered and engages in sinful activities. Upon realizing this, a man becomes repentant. Such repentance is described by Narottam Das Thakur. Hari Hari Vifale Janama Gonanu Manusya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Nabhajiya Janiya Suniya Vishakainu Narottam Das Thakur herein says that he repents for having spoiled his human life and knowingly drunk poison. By not being Krishna consciousness, one willingly drinks the poison of material life. The purport is that one certainly becomes addicted to sinful activities when he becomes devoid of his good, chaste wife, or when he has lost his good sense and does not take to Krishna consciousness. Text 19. Shantvayam shlaknasya vacha hridayena viduyata prayasya sneha samramba lingam atmani nabhyagat. The king, with a grieved mind, began to speak to his wife with very pleasing words. Although he was filled with regret and tried to pacify her, he could not see any symptom of anger caused by love within the heart of his beloved wife. Purport. The king very much regretted having left his queen and having gone to the forest to execute sinful activities. When a person regrets his sinful activities, the abandoning of Krishna consciousness and good intelligence, his path of deliverance from the path of material clutches is opened. As stated in Bhagavatam 5.5.5, Parabhavastavad abdo jato yavanna jigyasata atmatatvam. When a person loses his Krishna consciousness and loses interest in self-realization, he must engage in sinful activities. All one's activities in a life devoid of Krishna consciousness simply lead to defeat and misuse of one's life. Naturally, one who comes to Krishna consciousness regrets his previous sinful activities in the human form. Only by this process can one be delivered from the clutches of nescience or ignorance and materialistic life. Text 20. Anunyeta shaunakar viro nunaya kovida pashparsha parayugalam ahakotsangalalitam. Because the king was very expert in flattery, he began to pacify his queen very slowly. First he touched her 2 feet, then embraced her nicely, seating her on his lap, and began to speak as follows. One has to awaken his Krishna consciousness by first regretting his past deeds. Just as King Purañjana began to flatter his queen, one should, by deliberate consideration, raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness. To attain such an end, one must touch the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Krishna consciousness cannot be achieved by self-endeavor. One must therefore approach a self-realized Krishna-conscious person and touch his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj therefore said, Naishammatistavad uru kramanan grim Sparshatyanartha pagamo yad artaha mahiya sampada rajobhishekam nishkinchananam navranita yavat. Bhagavatam 7.5.32. One cannot come to the precincts of Krishna consciousness unless he touches the dust of the lotus feet of a person who has become Mahatma, a great devotee. This is the beginning of the surrendering process. Lord Krishna wants everyone to surrender unto him, and this surrendering process begins when one touches the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. By sincerely rendering service to a bona fide spiritual master, one begins his spiritual life in Krishna consciousness. Touching the lotus feet of a spiritual master means giving up one's false prestige and unnecessarily puffed up position in the material world. Those who remain in the darkness of material existence due to their falsely prestigious positions, so-called scientists and philosophers, are actually atheists. They do not know the ultimate cause of everything. Although bewildered, they are not ready to surrender themselves to the lotus feet of a person who knows things in their proper perspective. In other words, one cannot arouse Krishna consciousness simply by his own mental speculation. One must surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. Only this process will help one. Text 21. Purañjana uvacha nunam tvakrita punyaste pratyayeshishvara shubhe kritagasvatma satkritva siksha dandam na yunjate. King Purañjana said, "My dear beautiful wife, when a master accepts a servant as his own man, but does not punish him for his offenses, the servant must be considered unfortunate." According to Vedic civilization, this is the purport now, according to Vedic civilization, domestic animals and servants are treated exactly like one's own children. Animals and children are sometimes punished not out of vengeance, but out of love. Similarly, a master sometimes punishes his servant not out of vengeance, but out of love, to correct him and to bring him to the right point. Thus King Purañjana took his punishment dealt by his wife, the queen, as mercy upon him. He considered himself the most obedient servant of the queen. She was angry at him for his sinful activities, namely hunting in the forest and leaving her at home. King Purañjana accepted the punishment as actual love and affection from his wife. In the same way, when a person is punished by the laws of nature, by the will of God, he should not be disturbed. A real devotee thinks in this way. When a devotee is put in an awkward position, he takes it as the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Tate nukampam sushamikshmano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvagvapurbir vididham namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadayabak. Bhagavatam 10.14.8. This verse states that the devotee accepts a reversal of his position in life as a benediction by the Lord, and consequently offers the Lord more obeisances and prayers. Thinking that punishment is due to his past misdeeds, and that the Lord is punishing him very mildly, the punishment awarded by the state or by God for one's own faults is exactly for one's benefit. In the Manu Samhita, it is said that the king should be considered merciful when he condemns a murderer to death, because a murderer punished in this life becomes freed from his sinful activity, and in the next life takes birth cleared of all sins. If one accepts punishment as a reward dealt by the master, he becomes intelligent enough not to commit the same mistake again. Text 22. Paramo nugraho dando brityeshu prabhunarpita balo naveda tatanvi bandhu krityam amarshana. My dear slender maiden, when a master chastises his servant, the servant should accept this as great mercy. One who becomes angry must be foolish not to know that such is the duty of his friend. Purport. It is said that when a foolish man is instructed in something very nice, he generally cannot accept it. Indeed, he actually becomes angry. Such anger is compared to the poison of a serpent. For when a serpent is fed milk and bananas, its poison actually increases. Instead of becoming merciful or sober, the serpent increases its poisonous venom when fed nice foodstuff. Similarly, when a fool is instructed, he does not rectify himself, but actually becomes angry. Text 23. Satvam mukam sadhati subhavanur ragabara ridivalamba vilasad dashitavalokam nilala kalibir ukshakritam unashamnaha svanam pradarsaya manasvini valgu vakyam. My dear wife, your teeth are very beautifully set, and your attractive features make you appear very thoughtful. Kindly give up your anger and be merciful upon me. Please smile upon me with loving attachment. When I see a smile on your beautiful face, and when I see your hair, which is as beautiful as the color blue, and I see your raised nose, and I hear your sweet talk, you will become more beautiful to me and thus attract me and oblige me. You are my most respected mistress. Purport. An effeminate husband, simply being attracted by the external beauty of his wife, tries to become her most obedient servant. Sripad Shankaracharya has therefore advised that we cannot become attracted by a lump of flesh and blood. The story is told that at one time a man very much attracted to a beautiful woman wooed the woman in such a way that she devised a plan to show him the ingredients of her beauty. The woman made a date to see him, and before seeing him she took a purgative, and that whole day and night she simply passed stool, and she preserved that stool in a pot. The next night, when the man came to see her, she appeared very ugly and emaciated. When the man inquired from her um, about the woman with whom he had an engagement, she replied, "I am that very woman." The man refused to believe her, not knowing that she had lost all her beauty due to the violent purgative that caused her to pass stool day and night. When the man began to argue with her, the woman said that she was not looking beautiful because she was separated from the ingredients of her beauty. When the man asked how she could be so separated, the woman said, "Come on, and I will show you." She then showed him the pot filled with liquid stool and vomit. Thus the man became aware that a beautiful woman is simply a lump of matter composed of blood, stool, urine, and similar other disgusting ingredients. This is the actual fact. But in a state of illusion, man becomes attracted by illusory beauty and becomes a victim of Maya. King Purañjana begged his queen to return to her original beauty. He tried to revive her just as living entities tries to revive his original consciousness, Krishna consciousness, which is very beautiful. All the beautiful features of the queen could be compared to the beautiful features of Krishna consciousness. When one returns to his original Krishna consciousness, he actually becomes steady and his life becomes successful. And thus ends our reading for today. We will continue from this text 24 on Wednesday. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev Ki Jai.
Jai.
Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktiveda Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Navadut Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai.
Jai.
Princeton Bhakti Vedanta Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari 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 Bol. Jai Shrimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai.
Jai Gurudev. श्रीपाद कृष्ण केशव प्रभु जी की जय। दंडवत प्रणाम।
Dhanavad Didi.